Hello and welcome to my channel. I'm Tiffany, a retired librarian turned homeschool mom, and this is going to be my final video on the homeschool laws around the world. In this video, I'm going to cover all of Europe, and oddly enough, tacking on to the end of this, because I forgot about it to put it anywhere else, the Pacific Islands. Now, when it comes to the Pacific Islands, I'm talking about the actual countries. So I just picked out the actual Pacific Island countries. There's a lot of islands in the Pacific. Giant ocean. A lot of them are, one, too small for people to live on, or they're territories of another country. And I didn't cover that. So you look on a map, it's like, if this belongs to France, or England, or the US, or China, it follows their laws. So I just didn't go into that. So I just focused on the actual countries. They're not quite that many. Because again, giant ocean, lots and lots of little islands absolutely everywhere. And if it's off the coast of a country, it's mostly going to belong to that country, with the exception of the Falkland Islands. That's a whole different issue, and not going to get into why on earth the British still want to be there, but they're still there. But again, I'm going to cover all of Europe and these Pacific Island countries. So let's get started. And again, this is going to be quick fire like the rest of my world videos, because a lot of it, the answer is pretty much yes or no. So let's start off with Austria. Homeschooling is legal in Austria, but it is regulated. Same with Belgium. It's legal, but regulated. Croatia, homeschooling is illegal, but it looks like there has been a move to make it legal. The Czech Republic, homeschooling is legal, but it is heavily regulated. So a lot of these heavily regulated basically means you're only allowed to homeschool under very special circumstances, like your child is disabled, there's medical issues, stuff like that. Denmark, homeschooling is legal but heavily regulated. Finland homeschooling is legal and regulated, but it's also very uncommon. Not surprising. In one of the northern countries, they're very culturally tight-knit, so schooling was probably part of their social structure. France, homeschooling is legal but heavily regulated. Again, it's going to be very special circumstances. Germany is pretty much the same. Homeschooling is illegal, but with rare exceptions. And I said homeschooling was legal in France. I believe it's actually the other way around. It's similar to Germany. It's technically illegal unless it's really hard to do. So it's very, very heavily regulated. Greece, homeschooling is illegal. Hungary, homeschooling is legal but heavily regulated and rare. So again, one of those special circumstances thing. Iceland, homeschooling is legal only if the parent is a teacher. So that's interesting. Italy, homeschooling is legal but regulated. Poland, homeschooling is legal but heavily regulated. Again, special circumstances here. Portugal, homeschooling is legal but it's rare, so highly uncommon. Romania, the country I lived for 2 years, homeschooling is legal but it is regulated. Let's see. Russia, homeschooling is legal but heavily regulated. Again, probably special circumstances. Slovenia, homeschooling is legal but regulated. Slovakia, homeschooling is legal but heavily regulated, so special circumstances again. Spain, homeschooling is illegal. Sweden, homeschooling is illegal except in very special circumstances, and there have been issues with Sweden. Yeah, they don't like homeschooling at all. I think there was people who got their children taken away even though they were trying to leave the country to where homeschooling was legal. So, issues. Sweden, yeah, don't like homeschooling. Be careful there. Switzerland, homeschooling is legal, but it is regulated. The Ukraine, homeschooling is legal, but is heavily regulated, so probably special circumstances. Let's see. And I'm going to mispronounce this country. Azerbaijan, homeschooling is legal, but it is regulated. Estonia, homeschooling is legal, but regulated. Latvia, homeschooling is legal, but regulated and rare, so people don't really do it in that country. Luxembourg, homeschooling is legal. Moldova, which is a country right next to Romania, homeschooling is legal. Liechtenstein, homeschooling is legal, but it is regulated. Malta, homeschooling is legal, but it is heavily regulated, so special circumstances. Serbia, homeschooling is legal except for children with special needs. And let's see, both Albania and Andorra, homeschooling is illegal. Bosnia-Herzegovina, same thing, homeschooling is illegal, as it is also in Bulgaria, Lithuania, Montenegro, Northern Macedonia, and San Marzano. So all those countries, homeschooling is illegal. Belarus is the same thing. I believe I already covered Estonia, though actually looks like Estonia might be legal up until age 12. So Monaco, it is illegal. Okay, and that seems to have covered all of Europe. So again, most of it, the countries, homeschooling is illegal, or it's really, really regulated and probably very, very rare. Again, be very, very careful in Sweden. Apparently they're having a lot of issues there. So let's move on to the Pacific Islands here. So started off with the Cook Islands, which I couldn't find anything, so unknown. Fiji, it appears to be illegal. I'm going to pronounce this country. Kiribati, it appears to be illegal. I'm finding little information. The Marshall Islands, I couldn't find anything, so could be unknown, could be legal, could be illegal. I'm going to guess it's illegal, just guessing here because these are small islands and they don't do a lot of academic homeschooling. So they're obviously they're island nations, so very small survival thing. They're learning family trades. Federation States of Micronesia, it appears to be illegal from what I've been able to find. Palau, it appears to be illegal from what I've been able to find. Papua New Guinea is unknown. Can't really find anything about it. Possibly illegal, possibly just non-existent. Samoa appears to be legal. Solomon Islands, couldn't find anything. Tonga, still couldn't find anything. I'm going to mispronounce this country. Tuvalu appears to be illegal. And Vanuatu, I couldn't find anything. Now, these are island nations. These are countries that are full of dozens of little islands. So they're not one individual island. I'm not going to name all of them. One, I'd probably pronounce them. And two, there are dozens of little islands. So these are the island nations. So when it comes to a lot of these countries, the island nations where I don't know, they're small. They're basically your survival. You're learning the family trade. So there's not a lot of academic homeschooling. In Europe, it varies on their country. A lot of times their social structure and their country requires everybody to be working, so they need every kid to be in school. How that's going to change with people starting to be able to work from home, I don't know. Particularly with these countries, because they are democracies, laws can be in flux. So they change. They can change all the time. I think Spain was having some issues. There's some fight to make homeschooling legal at some point, and that may change. COVID is going to have an interesting effect on things. What's going to happen, who knows? Whether homeschooling may start becoming legal. They may start getting more movements. Homeschooling in the long run is really a new thing. It didn't really start forming as an idea in the United States until the 1970s. And then it was very much a right-wing Christian thing that took over in the US. So in the broad range of education, particularly in these very old countries, homeschooling is not really an idea that had started formulating in a lot of people's minds. And it is slowly because of the internet. Now, one of the ways to get around this, particularly if you're visiting these countries, or you want to do this, is do online schooling. So we have a lot of international accredited online schooling programs that if you don't want to actually send your children to school, you might be able to get away with sending your kids to these private online academies. But again, it's going to vary. Check the country. If you're planning on staying there for extended period of times, again, talk to a lawyer. I'm not one. Someone who specializes in this kind of thing. Our family has an idea of possibly living in Spain for a year or so at some point in the distant future. I'm talking like a decade from now. And we will have to research that, or we may end up staying in Portugal, where I believe it's legal, depending on what goes on. So research it. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not an expert in this. I scrambled to find a lot of these countries on the internet, whether or not it was illegal or legal. And I don't speak the languages, so I don't know how complicated it is. My French sucks. My Romanian's probably not much better because I don't use it anymore. I certainly wouldn't be able to read complex legal documents like I was able to understand in, say, the US and the UK and countries its primary language is English, and that's their government language. So that is it for these legal videos. I I think I got most of the countries. If you didn't hear what you think is a European country in this video, check out my Asia video, because I think some of these countries, because I covered a little bit of the Middle East and the Mediterranean, and some of Eastern Europe got thrown in there, so it kind of overlapped on that depending on what source I was looking at. And yes, I did randomly just look on the internet trying to find basic information. And again, it's not, for some of these countries, it's not easy to find. But that is it for these legal videos. If you like this video, or you want to say, check out a lot of my book reviews, which are far more interesting than this, like and subscribe. I will have more book reviews, probably a few more homeschooling reviews as time goes on, as well as travel reviews once travel restriction starts raising and we actually start traveling a little bit more. So that is it. Thank you.